This episode of Dat Game is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. No, seriously. Go ahead, I'll wait. Hello, Internet. Magic Man here from Gamebreaker TV, bringing you premiere episode of Dat Game, Gamebreaker's first look series where we take a peek at an MMORPG, an MMO, hell, even just a regular game that maybe doesn't get as much love as it should, or maybe we just don't have anybody playing it currently. We spend about 10-15 minutes giving you our first impressions of our first few hours of play. Now keep in mind, this obviously isn't a full review, since those do take time and MMOs are constantly evolving anyway, so a score may not be appropriate on a few hours of gameplay. We're just going to give you a sneak peek, talk a little bit about what each game does, what the core mechanics are, and maybe a unique feature or two along the way, and we'll provide more information below if you think you want to check out this particular game. If you've got recommendations for Dat Game episodes, throw them in the comments below. We'll be happy to take them into consideration. So, what are we playing today? Today is Planet Calypso, the social, political, economic MMORPG, part of the Project Entropia or Entropia Universe saga, and that's by the developers and publishers over at MindArk. Now, first thing you're going to notice is the game does look a little dated, but hey, give it a little bit of slack, for crying out loud. The game originally came out in like 2003, and considering that only about 3 to 4 years ago or so it had a revamp of the entire graphics engine to update it to CryEngine 2, it doesn't look as outdated as its actual release date would make you think. So, what is Planet Calypso? Well, by the end of this first look, you are going to know pretty much for sure whether or not you want to give Planet Calypso a try. It's a sci-fi MMORPG with some combat elements, some PvP, some PvE elements. The targeting is one of those shift to aim versus cursor mode, so you'll constantly be going back and forth. Right now I'm going to shoot down some things here while we chat. So, is it as in-depth a combat as like a Terra or something like that? Absolutely not. Because that's not the game's core focus. You can play most of the core aspects of the game for free. Just go download it, jump on in, make a name, create a character, and go. Don't be fooled, right off the bat you'll only get a male or female selection, but as you actually enter the universe of the game, you will have an opportunity to actually customize your character. While you can play most of the features for free, the real meat and potatoes of Planet Calypso comes in the economy social aspect of the game. It is a real-world economy type deal. You have a currency called PED. Now, PED can actually be extracted from the game back into real-life currency at a 10-to-1 PED to US dollars conversion rate. PED can be accumulated in a number of different ways. The first off is obviously opening up your bad boy wallet, throwing down some green, and getting some PED. The second is a lot more time intensive. You can perform jobs for other players in-game or farm animals, what they call sweating animals. Basically, it's think a portal-type looking gun blade box thing. I don't know, it's on the end of your hand and you run up and you hold it to a monster and you start sweating them. You can gain those types of materials and in turn sell them to other characters for PED. Now, if you plan to make money through Planet Calypso, which you can do, there are some stories of some big-time sales taking place for real-world dollars, you're going to spend a lot of time in this game, or a lot of money, and then some smart decision-making. If this is the type of game that appeals to you, where it's the economy of the game that is the game itself, there's no final boss, there's no Deathwing that you kill and then wait for the next expansion. That's not the way this works. The game's core element is that economy, social, political environment. So, if you want to succeed, you need to put in the work to do so. First off, you're going to want to play the tutorial. Don't skip the tutorial if you've never played this type of game before. Not only does the tutorial give you the core mechanics of the game, the controls, which are WASD movement, camera, you can switch to first person and third person. I'm really not a first person type guy, but I found myself playing and having more fun in first person, and then switching to third person when I was in vehicles. But not only are you going to get those core aspects of how to play the game actually does a very thorough job in its tutorial at showing you almost every aspect of the game, not just control and combat, but all the way through crafting, through the auction house, through vehicles, through questing. All of that is very well explained and controlled through a little quest line through the tutorial. The tutorial will probably take you about an hour to complete. It will give you an idea of just how big this world could be if you're planning to play the game long term. One zone, 1 hour, maybe a dozen quests to get through. It's well worth the trade-off for the knowledge. Not only that, you retain your equipment and vehicles and things that you gain in the tutorial when you actually arrive on Planet Calypso. That gives you a little tiny bit of an edge over those people that are brand new and decided to skip the tutorial. After that, do your research. The combat mechanics are pretty straightforward. Anybody familiar to an MMORPG, you're going to pick it up real quick. You're going to pick up the questing real quick. The interface looks complex, like there's a lot of options there. To be honest, some of those options probably don't need to be on your screen. They're hotbar type things for emotes and stuff like that. So there's a fair amount of customization that you may do. All of those core mechanics, you can take advantage for them for free, and if you just want to play the sci-fi storyline, go for it. But I told you, if you're going to play it for the real reason this game exists, and the devs will tell you this is not a game for everyone, do your research. Read the forums, read the wikis, go hog wild, because you're either going to make that fateful decision to put money in, or spend a ton of time doing something, and if you aren't smart about how you're spending your time or money, it's a slot machine. Now, a lot of the mechanics that were previously in the game a few years ago that really had some slot machine type feels to it, that's a common thing that you'll see on the forums, especially if you look back a few years, is that the game felt like a slot machine or a casino. They are trying and still developing to take some of those elements out, but just like a slot machine, if you're not smart with the money that you put in, you're going to blow through it, not have anything to show for it, and back to square one you'll go. You want to be intelligent about putting the money into the game, using it to get or create the gear that's going to advance your character to a level where you can sweat or destroy or quest for different types of monsters or resources. There's mining, all that type of gathering and building and crafting system. It's a real-world economy. There's not much else to say. If you go to the stock market and you throw your money down and you don't know what the hell you're doing, you aren't getting a return, my friend. And Planet Calypso works exactly the same way. Do your research. Find out, do you want to sink time and perform jobs for other players? But just like a real economy, jobs may be lacking. It happens. It happens. There's a Planet Calypso recession. I don't know. But jobs are lacking sometimes. So you're going to have to find other methods. Sweating animals, farming resources, finding somebody to sell them to. It is a very dynamic trade system where there's a lot of bartering, negotiation, find the right buyer, find the right rates type deal. So, that being said, if you think you want to check out Planet Calypso, check out the information below. We'll give you the links to it in our little write-up there. Be warned, Magic Man told you first. Do your research, my friends. You're gonna need it. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you out on the servers.